in this episode of Get Real with Rajiv, I'm going to be answering questions around why do people fail even after they gain so much knowledge. I'm also going to be talking about how do you deal with resistance from your team members towards systems and processes that are new. And I'm also going to talk about how do you deal with your older senior employees who are sitting in their comfort zones. And finally, I'm going to share with you how do you build a high performance culture and do not let your team get sucked into becoming a comfort zone team where everybody's playing like a family. If you would like to find the answers to these questions, then you need to tune into episode number 59 of Get Real with Rajiv. Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 59 of Get Real with Rajiv. Like every single week, we are going to be answering 4 questions in today's episode. And today, Megha is going to be the voice of your questions. So Megha, what's the first question?
So Rahul is asking, why is it that even after having acquired the knowledge, people fail to implement things?
Well, Rahul, that's a brilliant question because I know a lot of people who are seminar junkies. They jump from one seminar to another seminar to another seminar. In today's world, they jump from one webinar to another webinar to another webinar. Having said that, what I need you to understand is this. Seminars and webinars are training programs. Training can equip you with the knowledge. Knowledge is information and data only. Now, what happens to some people is when they acquire the information and data, they feel like they are victorious and they feel like they know it. But the reality is this, they only understand it, they don't know it. The next level of knowledge is to develop skill. What is skill? Skill is to have the capability of doing what you know. Now for one to move to the stage of from knowledge to skill, one really needs to practice. Now how can people practice? People can practice by engaging themselves in different ways. One is you can practice by being driven yourself, being motivated yourself and being disciplined yourself, where you practice what you've learned, and the more you do it, the better you get at it, and that's when you can say that I have the skills. Now the reality is this, you should not depend on yourself. That's what smart people do. They don't depend on themselves. They put themselves in an environment where they can practice. Now, what kind of environments am I talking about? Either being a part of a mastermind group where you have like-minded people who are learning the same thing and working on developing the same capabilities. You put yourself in mastermind groups where you hold each other responsible because you need somebody to hold you responsible. Or even better, get a coach. Now, in today's world, this word called coaching is overused and abused. People selling video recorded courses on the internet are calling themselves coaches. Coaching is not giving training and calling yourself a coach because it sounds like a more fancier term. Coaching is one-to-one. Coaching is hand-holding. Coaching is where a person is making sure that they're taking you through the journey. They're holding you accountable. They're customizing the solution. They're giving you feedback. The best way of implementing what you learn is to have a coach, because that's when you move from the knowledge stage to the skill stage by practicing repeatedly and having somebody on the sidelines who's observing and giving you feedback. So Rahul, my recommendation to all those lifelong learners who are committed to taking their game to the next level is knowledge is level 1, coaching is level 2. Make sure you go through coaching, put yourself in an environment, you implement what you learn. That's when you develop the capability, and that's when it becomes a skill, and that's when you can say, I know, not just I understand. I hope that makes sense, Rahul. With that, Megha, what's the second question?
So Vikram is asking, he needs tips and ways to deal with senior team for not coming out of their comfort zone and assuming their job is secured, whatever it may, but not allowing the junior team to grow. That's his biggest challenge in the organization.
Well, Vikram, then what you have is not team members, what you have is zamindars. These are like thekedars who are sitting over there, who've contributed to the organization in the past, but today they have stagnated and they are not letting anybody else grow because they feel insecure when somebody else is contributing more. Now, in such a case, Vikram, here's what you need to do. You need to handle such people tactfully. You can't just go all out and get aggressive with people. Here's the first step you need to do. You need to have one-to-one conversations with such people. Firstly, acknowledge them for their past contribution. Let them know that you genuinely value what they've done for the organization in all these years. Now, while you acknowledge them, you also need to ask them what is their next level. It's always good to ask them before you tell them. Let them define what is their next level from a responsibility point of view, from a skill point of view, from a capability point of view, or from a goal point of view. So you ask them these questions because you're giving them the autonomy to decide and design what their next level is. Now, if they are not able to come up with a comprehensive answer to that question of what is their next level, then you give them feedback. You give them feedback of what needs to change. You need to define for them in a specific manner what needs to change in their skills, what needs to change in their actions and in their habits, what needs to change in their results. You give them feedback and you align them to that feedback. You ask them, do they agree, do they disagree? And if they disagree, you deal with that disagreement through discussion and giving them the rationale and logic. See, if they genuinely have a rationale and logic of why they disagree, then you need to change your perspective. But in this case, it seems like that person is passive. They're sitting in their comfort zone. So definitely you'll have a better rationale and a better logic. Engage in a discussion in a very, very respectful manner. And in that discussion, also provide support. Tell them that you will help them by equipping them with the required skills and knowledge. You will train them, you will mentor them, you will coach them. Provide that support and demand commitment from them. Make a genuine, authentic, emotional appeal to your team members saying, hey, listen, you've been someone who's been in the organization for years. You've helped me build the organization. I don't want you to become redundant in the organization. So I am willing to step up and support. I want you to step up and take that support and upgrade those skills, upgrade your knowledge, upgrade your attitude, and be the leader that people can be proud of rather than being the leader who just has a position because of their age in the organization. You really need to inspire and make an emotional appeal. If they reciprocate, great. If they don't reciprocate, then you do what they deserve, which is called Ikki Topo di Salami, which means you fire such people with guilt-free emotions for yourself, because what you've done is you've been willing to go down, extend support, give feedback, handhold, but if they are fixed and they're saying, I don't want to change, I'm going to sit here like an employee from a redundant government organization where for years I will sit on the same seat and I will act like a jagirdar, then we don't deserve such employees. We need to let them go in a guilt-free manner. So the option is very simple. Step up or step out. Wallet ya bullet. Whichever they choose, tell them to pick that. I hope that makes sense, Vikram. With that, let's go to the next question.
So Ritesh is asking, how do you tackle a situation where there's resistance from majority employees to even new systems, processes being implemented?
Okay, Ritesh. So when we apply a new system, there is resistance, and the resistance comes because change is not easy. People don't like change. While people give these fancy quotes on their Facebook accounts saying change is the only thing that is permanent, the reality is when the change has to happen, those same people do not want to change. So we need to understand that change management is a science in itself, it's a process in itself. And especially as an organization, when you're implementing a new system, you will see resistance to change. So the best way of handling the resistance to change is through conversations and asking and answering 3 questions with your team. I call them the 3 whys. Now, what are these 3 whys? The first thing you need to ask as a team, you got to get your team together, you got to put out the question, and then you got to answer the question together as well. So the first why is, why do we need to upgrade the system, or why do we need to change the system? Now, when you answer that question, predominantly you are the one who's giving out the pointers of the merits and the benefits of the new system, and you will have other team members also who see the merits and benefit to add to those pointers. So the first why is, why do we need to change? What is the benefit of the change? Why will the system or the change of the system help us? So that's the first why. The second question is, why will anybody resist the change? That's the second question we should also ask and answer as a team, where you need to tell people, okay guys, we'll create this new system, we see the benefits, but can we also list out reasons of why will people resist this system? And then you'll have answers like, people may resist this system because the system makes everything transparent and it will make people accountable and responsible, and people may not want to be responsible, or people may not want to be held accountable. So you also, along with the team, along with the group, answer, why will people resist the system? And then from there, you need to ask the third why, which is, why should we be open to the system? Why should we actually make sure that we don't give in to that resistance and we actually stick and persist to making the change in the system? Why should we be open to the system? And this is where you got to put out a perspective to people that the goal and the organization's interest comes above an individual's interest. And this is where you need to ask team members, how else can we upgrade? Because if they have a better solution, let's do that. But if they don't have a solution, then let us align to the change. So these are the 3 questions you need to ask them, Ritesh. I hope that makes sense. With that, let's go to the 4th and final question.
So we have Michael who's asking us, if you worked with a team who've become a family kind of a culture and you want to convert them into an army, what are the steps that need to be taken?
Amazing question, Michael, about how do you convert a family culture into an army culture at your workplace. Now, for those of you who think, why would you not want to have a family culture? Michael's question is actually arising out of one of my previous videos where I spoke about this characteristic of behavior of teams where entrepreneurs are very proud of building this family culture in their organization. But essentially what's happening is that people are very well connected. There's amazing bonding in that family culture. But the weakness is there is no accountability, there's no ownership on goals, there is no high performance. It's very mediocre level performance and everybody's in their comfort zone and nobody's really challenging each other. Now that is very, very damaging to the organization as well as to the individual. It's damaging when your team is only like a family and not like an army because you're not producing the results, they're just going with the flow. And it's also damaging to the individual because they get used to being a part of a team where they're not challenged and they're in their comfort zone and all their reasons and excuses become their valid truth and they're never ever pushing themselves outside their comfort zone, which is very damaging to an individual's career because if tomorrow they leave and join another workplace, they will be the low performance because they're used to living with their reasons, they're used to living in their stories and excuses. So one has to understand, and everyone has to understand, especially the business owner, that a family culture has only great relationships but very, very poor results. The ideal thing is to build an army culture within your team. I always say this to people, build one family which is at home and keep them happy. At the workplace, build an army. What do I mean by an army culture? An army culture is a culture where relationships are high and the result is high. Now, there is no bigger proof when during war, one soldier is willing to give their life and take a bullet on behalf of another soldier. There's no bigger proof of love, care and relationships than that. And there is no bigger proof where every soldier holds every other soldier responsible throughout the drill, throughout the days in the army where they practice, they work on fitness, they work on every single area of their life and they push each other, they hold each other accountable. They don't give in to each other's laziness saying, today I won't show up to the morning drill because I'm feeling lazy. They push and challenge each other. So at the workplace, an ideal team is a team that works like an army where relationships are high and results are high. Now, how do you create this transition? If you have a family culture, what do you do? Firstly, you educate them on the difference between the family culture and the army culture. Because when you educate, you create awareness. You create that broader perspective where they understand, yes, we are being a family, we are playing in our comfort zone. Then, once the education and awareness is there, together as a team, you create a stretch goal. What do I mean by a stretch goal? You put the team together and say, okay guys, if you want to build an army culture, let us put ourselves in a situation where we are working towards a goal that we've never ever achieved before, something that is outside our comfort zone. And let the team create a goal which is something they've never achieved before, which is outside their comfort zone. So that's step number 2. After education and awareness, creating a stretch goal. Once you've created a stretch goal, then the next thing that you need to do is you need to have a review system for that goal. A weekly review, a daily review, a monthly review. So a review system where you're reviewing people's progress towards their goal and you're giving them feedback. So the third step is review and feedback. And once you are doing reviews and feedback, then you have a development system where you equip people with the skills and knowledge through training or mentoring to help them work on their feedback and upgrade their capabilities so that they can achieve the goal. So I would say educate and create awareness of the army culture, create a stretch goal, have a review system, give feedback, have a development system where you're training, coaching and upgrading people's skills and knowledge. When you do that, you automatically start moving from a family culture where there's only connection and care, but no responsibility, no ownership, no challenging, to an army culture where there's a beautiful balance of results and relationships. I hope that makes sense, Michael, and I hope that gives a lot of entrepreneurs direction. With that, we come to the end of this episode of Get Real with Rajiv. I need you to do what I ask you to do every single time. Share this video with as many people as you can and ask more questions in the comment section below for the next episode. So with that, this is me, Rajiv Talreja, saying bye-bye, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.